What is going on, everyone? This is Dewey from The Flock, and today I'm going to be doing my top 5 Switch games that are exclusive to the Switch. So I've heard through the grapevine that when people's personal lists or personal favorite games don't make a top 5, they feel that they are personally being attacked. So I want to go off top and just say that this is my top 5 list. This doesn't reflect anyone else's, especially yours, and it doesn't reflect anyone else's on the podcast or the YouTube channels. I will say also that my list can kind of vary day to day. Just depends on how I feel. It's probably going to be a mixture of these 5. Maybe a few other ones are in the mix here and there. But for the most part, I would say this is my top 5 for right now and mainly for the foreseeable future. Again, this is my top 5. Feel free to leave your top 5 in the comments below because I love hearing about other people's top 5s and their reasoning. And let's get right into it. Number 5 is a game that I believe not enough people talk about. I feel like it's a weird mixture of hearing about it a lot, but also not enough. This is a game that was a third party taking a Nintendo IP. This pretty much narrows it down. And they did their own thing with it, and that is Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle. This is a game that I thoroughly enjoyed playing through. I still haven't beaten it, but I'm at like the last world, and it was just such a unique game in itself. And you know, I'm not really into the humor of it, but the gameplay is so good that it's that XCOM-y like strategic battle system, but with just Nintendo over top of it. It's a game that I feel like not enough people still talk about, and right now it's on sale. It's usually $10 off at any given time from when it first started off, but go ahead and check it out right now. And anytime it's on sale, please pick it up because I guarantee you will have a good time. Even if you're not into strategy type games, it's a little, you have like easier levels that you can start off on, and it's a really great game. Now, number 4 is going to be a game that personally I was excited for, but not too excited for. Like I was excited for it to come to the Switch, and as anyone would be, basically anyone who has a Switch, but I have such strong ties to older games in this series that I thought, you know, this game will be good, I'll have my fun with it, but it won't ever be as good as the previous iterations. And of course, I'm talking about Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. I'm a huge Melee guy. I would say that I play semi-competitively. I've gone to, events or whatever, both as entering in and spectating, but this is a game that even that E3 Direct, when they started showing every single character, the famous "everyone is here," like, it was crazy that there's so much representation in this game. And it's true what a lot of people say, that it doesn't feel like it's a Nintendo game. It feels like it's a celebration of all video games, because you can play as like Cloud, Bayonetta, Snake, and like Jigglypuff all fighting each other. And to me, that's just wholly unique. And obviously in other iterations you had a bunch of different characters and stuff like that, but it offers so much more now. As well as, there is a huge competitive scene for it. There is a casual scene for it. So it's such a versatile game, and like the online is, it could use some work still, but it's not terrible. And on top of that, the story mode is so fun. Like, you obviously have the adventure mode, and now they're added stage builder and all this other stuff, but the whole game board, I think the something of light, I can't remember off the top of my head, but you could sink like 60 hours into the game, like just the story mode of this game. And that's crazy for a quote-unquote party game. So anyone out there that's saying, oh, Melee and Smash is just a party game, you're wrong. It's a fighting game, and it's a damn good one. Now, number 3. This is a game that has an interesting story for it, at least on my end. So when this game came out, it was almost impossible to find. Mostly impossible to find in Japan because that's where it was selling out, the day it was being put out for release. And the company, Square Enix, said, sorry, we're going to get more out there. We promise. And that's understandable, that they thought that a classic JRPG styled game like Octopath Traveler would, not sell as many. It's a JRPG game. It's not as popular nowadays, and it's a very classic game, so it's very niche. But I heard it was selling out in my area, so I rushed out to Best Buy, bought it, played it, loved it. It was just what I needed. A more laid-back JRPG in the classic style that wasn't such a, huge undertaking to complete. I finished it, relatively quickly, probably 40 to 50 hours. And even, given the fact that the story itself isn't too crazy, the main draw to this is obviously the graphics. The 2.5D graphics are insanely beautiful. It's cool when I saw it in the press events and when I saw it being unveiled. I was like, oh, that looks pretty cool. But when I got it in hands and I started off in Ophelia's area, just the way the lighting works in this game, the snow falling in her area, her starting area, and, discovering things like behind a hill that's it's like a pop-up book that you're walking through. And a lot of people were talking about at the time of the release that what if instead of Final Fantasy VII being a 3D game, all the Final Fantasies after 6 would just progressively work on 2D sprites, and then eventually it would come up to this product where it's still in 2D, but it's, HD and really nice. And I totally believe that would kind of be the case. It really reminds me of, classic JRPGs just revamped. The battle system's really awesome. And funny enough, I got the Wayfarers edition right here. When I was in New York, there's the Nintendo store that's like 2 or 3 blocks from Times Square. Went in there, and this was the last one they had in stock. And this was already after I'd bought the game, played it, and I was like, I gotta have that like collector's edition. Like, it's so sick, I gotta have it. Went out to try and find it, couldn't find it. Checked online, it was being sold for, egregious amount of resale dollars. And eventually got lucky in New York, got the last one. The one that they had on the back of the table to like show off that they had it. They were able to give me that one. So awesome that I got this, and I am so thankful I was able to secure this copy and play one of the best JRPG games out last year. So if you know me, you know that on the podcast, I talked about a particular game for, I want to say about a month and a half, maybe even 2 months. I would just randomly bring it up. And if you're looking in the background right now, you're probably seeing something missing that is indicative of what this game is. And that is Xenoblade Chronicles 2. Xenoblade Chronicles 2 to me is really important for a lot of reasons. Obviously, I loved the game. I loved the character design. I love that there's this massive world on the Switch that even given there are a few hiccups here and there and in bigger areas it kind of chugs, it was such an amazing game that I sunk over 100 hours into. It also was the game that kind of brought me back to JRPGs and RPGs in general. Because I had played them in the past a lot, but this game was the one that I played after, not playing for a few years, coming back to it and just remembering how much I love these deep stories and these super intricate, fighting systems, like battle systems. I loved it so much that I actually went out and bought another copy sealed just to have it, just because it is probably, next to number 1. It is my number 2 favorite game on the Switch. It's probably like number 2 overall, like one of my favorite games, just because of where it has brought me in like my video game career, I guess. I don't know. But I highly suggest, if you're looking for a game that you want to sink a lot of time into, try this out. It's a little bit hard when you get started off and you need like help with like all the tutorials, and there's so many different systems where you have to, like play mini games to get chips, to get cores, to like, it's a huge thing, but it's just a beautiful, beautiful game. And it's got one of my favorite combat systems that reminds me a lot of WoW or other online role-playing games like MMOs. So that's number 2. So number 1, you're probably wondering why I haven't said Nintendo's top 2, I would say. Because a lot of people say if you got a Switch, then you need one of 2 of these games. So there's only going to be one of them. And after some very long thought, I decided to pick Zelda's Breath of the Wild. The Legend of Zelda, Breath of the Wild. This game, man, this is probably up there with like my favorite games of all time. It's definitely top 5, I would say, maybe even top 3, just because of everything there is to do with it. It's just a massive world that somehow is able to be contained on the Switch. A game that you could take this massive world on the go. Like, that is just the beauty of the Switch, but it's all the little things. So a lot of people talk about Zelda and how it's not a typical, like, Zelda game, because there's no dungeons, it's not as linear, it's way more open world, obviously. But to me, that's what the story became, was that world. So like, in itself, the world of Breath of the Wild is a character in itself, and you learn about it the more you play the game. You learn its secrets, you learn its hidden areas. There's so many things that also harken back to the old games that remind me of, when you put a bomb up against a wall and then you find, a chest behind an area. There's actual areas in this game where I put a bomb down where I saw a little crack in the wall that I thought, like, maybe is that like something weird going on, just the graphics? Is there like a weird thing going on there with the cel-shaded graphics? Blew up, and then behind it was a bunch of chests and like swords and stuff like that. And I was just like, man, I'm in like the middle of nowhere, up in the mountains, and someone thought to put this here. That, along with, the dungeons being so wholly unique, where you have to, use these powers of the Sheikah tablet, and, there's so many different things where, like, I realized the first time that I was holding a torch and just standing there that it lit grass on fire, and then I was like, oh! And then I was like, holy crap, this game has, like, so many mechanics in it. It's one of the games that I sunk maybe 40 to 60 hours into, and I could have gone to Ganon prepared probably 10 hours before that point, but I was just like, I don't want this to end. I just want to keep going. I just want to keep finding things. I just want to do everything but that, because I do not want this to end. Finally beat the game, and then I started playing the DLC, and it's a game that never ends. And we just got word that the successor to Breath of the Wild is in development, so I cannot wait for that. It looks a little bit darker, it looks a little bit grittier, it probably has more story, probably more dungeons. So anyways, these are my top 5 Switch exclusive games. Again, this is my list, so if you disagree or have another top 5, leave it in the comments, because I actually do like hearing about other people's, favorite video games and stuff like that. If you like this video, hit the thumbs up, because that is the only way that I know that you liked this video and I should keep making videos like this. And check out the links below to the podcast, Instagram, Twitter, all that stuff below. Again, thank you for watching. Hope you liked it, and thank you for flying with me. So anyways, these are my top 5 exclusive Switch exclusives. So anyways,